You don't need to ask someone who they are. You don't need to listen to their speeches, read their goals, watch their highlight reels, or scroll through their curated posts. If you really want to know who someone is, look at their calendar, because your calendar is not just a schedule. It is a mirror. It reflects your values. It exposes your habits. It reveals, without apology or distortion, the blueprint of your real character. What you choose to give your time to is what you worship. And what you consistently neglect, that's what you silently betray. We can speak of dreams, but if there's no time blocked out to build them, those dreams are nothing but well-dressed lies. We can speak of family, of health, of legacy, but if they don't show up on the calendar, they don't show up in your life. That's the brutal, beautiful truth. Your calendar doesn't lie. Your calendar doesn't flatter. Your calendar doesn't care about your intentions. It only displays your integrity, because your character is not who you are when you're inspired. It's who you are when you plan. When you decide what deserves a slice of your 24 hours, that's where the real battle is. Not on the stage, not in the moment of crisis, but in the quiet, behind-the-scenes discipline of preparation. What you write down, what you commit to, what you schedule, that becomes your reality. You are not what you post. You are what you prioritize. Because here's the truth, no one wants to say, the people who build empires, who live with peace, who walk with power, they don't have more time than you. They just honor time more than you. They treat it like gold, like breath, like purpose in hours and minutes. And they protect it with ferocity, because they know time is not just currency, it's a vote. And every time you say yes to something, you're voting for a future. The question is, whose future are you voting for? Your growth or someone else's gossip? Your goals or someone else's crisis? Your legacy or your distractions? Because if your calendar is filled with things that don't reflect your values, you're not living a life, you're managing chaos. And chaos is where character goes to die. That's why the most powerful people on the planet don't just use a calendar, they live by it. They audit it. They defend it. They build a wall around what matters and eliminate what doesn't. Because they've learned, if you don't plan your priorities, the world will fill your schedule with theirs. And what's terrifying is how subtle it is. You don't wake up and decide to waste your life. You just forget to guard it. You leave your calendar open and the noise moves in. Meetings with no meaning, calls with no clarity, scrolling with no soul, tasks that check a box but don't move the needle. Before you know it, your life is full, but your purpose is starving. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can reclaim it. Right now, you can open your calendar and declare war on distraction. You can turn every block of time into a battlefield where you either win the hour or you lose your edge. Because every hour is a test. Every slot is a story. And the stories you schedule become the story of your life. So take back the pen. Fill your days with rituals, not reactions. Build time for silence, for study, for service, for strength. Make room for the person you're becoming, not just the obligations that drain you. And when someone asks who you are, don't speak. Show them your calendar. Show them what you made sacred. Because your schedule doesn't just predict your success. Your calendar predicts your character. Because what you consistently commit to is what you quietly become. Look again at your calendar, not with guilt, not with pride, but with clarity. Is it filled with distractions that keep you busy or disciplines that keep you becoming? Do you see a blueprint for mastery, a mosaic of motion with no meaning? Because motion isn't progress. Busy isn't productive. Availability isn't virtue. And a full schedule doesn't equal a full life. It's not how much you do, it's what you do that reveals who you are. It's the quiet commitments that no one sees. The non-negotiables you protect when the world throws chaos at your feet. It's waking up when you said you would. Working the plan you wrote when you were strong. Staying in motion when your feelings beg you to coast. That is character. And character doesn't explode into existence. It's crafted by what you do every single day, without applause, without cameras, without permission. So stop asking what the successful have that you don't. Ask what they schedule that you won't. Because while you're wishing, they're working. While you're planning someday, they're locking in today. While you're managing urgency, they're protecting their purpose. You say you want focus, but is there space for it? You say you want mastery, but is it booked? You say you want peace, but is it on your calendar or just a fantasy you scroll past while numbing out on your phone? Look closer. Where is your learning time? Where is your thinking time? Where is your strategy time? Where is your relationship building time? Where is your health, your soul, your future? Because if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. Wishing doesn't build wealth. Goals don't grow without structure. And life does not reward vague intentions. It rewards calendar-level clarity. It rewards those who understand the calendar is not just a tool, it's a template for transformation. You want to know why some people seem so consistent? Why they always seem to have time? Why they get results while others get reasons? It's not magic, it's management. Time management. But deeper than that, it's self-management. And your calendar is where the truth shows up. Not the version you pretend to be. The version that actually exists. Because no matter what you say, you value. You don't value it unless it shows up in how you spend your time. And the deeper truth, you are always becoming what your calendar reflects. If it reflects laziness, you become lazy. If it reflects urgency, you become frantic. If it reflects alignment, you become powerful. So choose wisely. Every appointment is a contract. Every block of time is a brick in your identity. And eventually, that identity becomes your destiny. Because the life you want is not waiting on luck. It's waiting on alignment. And alignment is not found in grand intentions. It is carved into your calendar with surgical precision. Every minute is a mirror. Every hour is a vote. And if you've been casting votes for comfort, for distraction, for delay, then don't be shocked when your life feels misaligned. You cast those ballots. You chose to fill your day with things that starve your soul and feed your ego. But you can change your vote today. You can reclaim every block of time that's been rented out to the lowest bidder. You can pull your purpose back from the noise. You can take your calendar and make it a battle plan. Not just for productivity, but for peace. Because peace doesn't come from empty hours. It comes from earned alignment. From knowing that what you said mattered enough to schedule. Mattered enough to protect. Mattered enough to put on the map of your life like a sacred landmark. And the people who feel peace, they're not the ones with the most time. They're the ones who own it. They don't live by accident, they live by appointment. They don't let the urgent shove out the essential. They don't let the inbox dictate the vision. They decide what deserves a place in their day and eliminate the rest. That's leadership, not just of others, but of yourself. Because if you can't lead your calendar, you can't lead your future. You can't walk in purpose if your day is ruled by pings, by scrolls, by random requests from people who do not carry the weight of your vision. You are not here to be available. You are here to be effective. And effectiveness begins when you stop letting time leak from the seams of indecision. So get ruthless. Audit your schedule like your life depends on it, because it does. And ask yourself, hour by hour, does this grow me? Does this serve me? Does this reflect who I said I wanted to be? And if it doesn't cut it, no guilt, no apology, no delay. Because the world will always ask for more than it deserves. And your job is not to please it. Your job is to protect the flame, the fire inside you that flickers when you're aligned and fades when you're spread thin. Because if you spread yourself too thin, you disappear. And if you disappear from your own calendar, you disappear from your own calling. But not you. Not anymore. You are now the architect. You are now the author. And your calendar is no longer a list of demands. It is a declaration of who you are becoming. Then let the fire sharpen. Because this moment is not about managing minutes, it's about mastering meaning. You are not just creating a schedule. You are sculpting your standards. You are no longer reacting to time. You are redeeming it, pulling it back from the hands of distraction, pulling it back from the jaws of other people's expectations, pulling it back from the noise that kept you moving, but never arriving. Because now you understand. Busyness is the enemy of clarity. And if your calendar is full but your spirit is empty, then something sacred has been sold off for cheap. This is where the war begins, not against the world, but against the version of you that let life happen instead of happening to life. That version is dead now. The new you don't chase time. You command it. You show up to each day with intention burning in your chest like a torch, lighting the path that others are still searching for in the dark. Because your character, your real character is not revealed when you speak. It's revealed when no one is watching and you still do the work. It's revealed when you open your calendar and there's proof of your purpose there, not just clutter, not just chaos, but proof that you've already decided who you are. It's in the workout you booked because your health matters. It's in the reading you scheduled because your mind matters. It's in the reflection time you carved out because your soul matters. It's in the conversations you prioritized because love and leadership are built in presence, not just performance. And when you stack enough of those moments together, you don't just have a productive week. You have a life of alignment. And alignment, it radiates. People will feel it when you walk in. They'll sense it in your silence. They'll hear it in your words. Because it's rare. Rare to meet someone whose schedule reflects their soul. Rare to find someone who protects their time like their destiny depends on it, because it does. Rare to see someone who no longer worships the grind but honors the mission. You are that person now. You don't chase every opportunity. You select them. You don't say yes to noise. You say yes to necessity. You don't need to explain your boundaries, your results. Explain them for you. Because you are now a person of rhythm, of structure, of alignment. And your calendar, it no longer predicts confusion. It predicts character. It predicts who you are becoming. And every day, it delivers a message. I know where I'm going. I know what matters. I know who I am. And nothing is more powerful than that. Because when you truly know who you are, your calendar becomes your covenant. It becomes a sacred contract between your present actions and your future identity. No longer ruled by the chaos of convenience. No longer swayed by every distraction that flashes like a false god in the face of your focus. Now your time is spoken for. Your hours are no longer up for auction. Your priorities are no longer negotiable. You've built a rhythm that aligns with your reality, and you don't break rhythm for temporary relief. Because now you understand. The difference between the great and the forgotten is not found in intensity. It's found in repetition. Greatness isn't built in the highlight reels. It's forged in the hidden hours you blocked off when everyone else slept. It's found in the calendar entries no one claps for. Read, write, think, train, call mom, drink water, plan tomorrow. The world sees none of it. But your character is sculpted by all of it. Because your habits are a prophecy. Your calendar is not just where your time goes, it's where your life grows. And if you let just anyone or anything right in that sacred space, then you are handing over your future to forces that care nothing about your fulfillment. That's not noble. That's not generous. That's self-betrayal. Because every yes you give to the unnecessary is a no to what actually matters. And that slow bleed of attention, of presence, of energy, it kills legacies before they're even born. But you've put a wall around your garden now. You've chosen discipline over popularity, focus over flattery, design over drift. And it shows in the quality of your work, the sharpness of your mind, the steadiness of your soul. The peace that follows people who are unavailable for nonsense. Because when you decide your time is sacred, the world adjusts. It respects what you enforce, so enforce it. Let your calendar become a gate, not a revolving door. Let it reflect your highest self, not your loudest insecurities. Let it be your silent declaration that you will no longer live on accident, because you have chosen alignment. And every entry on that calendar, every quiet block of time, is you saying, I am worthy of this hour. I am ready for this level. I am building a life that will outlive me. And that is how your calendar becomes your character. And your character becomes your crown. Because your crown isn't something placed upon your head. It's something placed upon your habits. It's not worn with pride dates, earned with precision. And every crown is carved from consistency. Every ounce of respect you command. Every room you walk into where the air shifts. Every goal that doesn't just inspire you but obeys you. It's all traced back to the structure of your days. To how ruthlessly you protected the morning. To how fiercely you guarded the afternoon. To how intentionally you ended your nights not with distraction, but with direction. Because direction doesn't scream. It schedules. It writes things down. It knows that without a plan, purpose starves. Without a calendar, conviction fades. Without discipline, dreams drift into the graveyard of good intentions. So you stopped trying to find time. You started making time. Because people who find time live like scavengers. But people who make time, they live like sculptors. They chisel away at the unnecessary. They carve space for peace. They cut the fat and leave only the essentials. Because they understand time is not just a resource. It's a refinement. How you use it defines how sharp you are, how effective you are, how dangerous you are to every obstacle that once stood in your way. And when you live like this long enough, your calendar stops being just a tool. It becomes a testimony, not of how much you do, but of who you've become. Because real character is not built in public. It's built at 5:00 a.m. It's built when you turn off the phone to turn on your mind. It's built when you skip the party to build the plan. It's built when you say no to what's popular, to say yes to what's personal. And personal greatness, it doesn't beg for attention. It moves in alignment so deeply that the results speak in a voice louder than your own. Because the strongest people you know, the most grounded, the most focused, the most unstoppable, they're not the busiest. They're the most aligned. And that alignment, it was booked on a calendar long before it was seen on a stage. So if you want to know what kind of life you're creating, don't look in the mirror. Look at the schedule. That's the real reflection. That's the real version of you. The version that either honors the future or delays it. The version that either compounds strength or leaks energy. The version that either leads or lingers. So choose now and choose daily. What kind of life are you scheduling? Because that's the kind of life you're living. Then brace yourself. Because what comes next is not just a reminder, it's a reckoning. Because one day, the clock will run out. And when it does, you won't be judged by what you meant to do. You won't be remembered for what you hoped would happen. You'll be remembered for what you showed up for what you made time for what you sacrificed for, and most of all, for what you were willing to schedule when it was easier to sleep, easier to scroll, easier to stall. Your calendar is your confessional. It tells the truth when your words lie. It tells the truth when your excuses dress themselves as logic. It tells the truth when your ambition pretends it's action. Because you don't rise to your level of intention. You rise or fall to the level of your systems. And your calendar, that's the system of your soul. It tells the world what you really care about. It tells the future, whether you're ready or just rehearsing. It tells you whether you are walking in alignment or just surviving on adrenaline. So ask you seriously, silently, right now, does my calendar reflect my courage or my comfort? Does it reflect my conviction or my confusion? Does it reflect my legacy or my laziness? Because there will be a day not far from now when someone opens your calendar after you're gone. And it won't just be an archive of appointments. It will be an autopsy of your existence. It will show where your time went, where your life was spent, where your energy flowed. And it will answer the question, did they matter? Not just in intention, but in impact. And that impact, it starts now. It starts with the next block of time. It starts with you looking at your schedule and no longer seeing it as a burden, but as a blueprint. You don't need another guru. You don't need another book. You need to own your hours. Because once you do, the world changes. Your results shift. Your clarity sharpens. Your habits harden. And you become a force. The kind of force that doesn't beg for time. The kind of force that doesn't explain why they're unavailable for mediocrity. The kind of force that moves through the world with precision, purpose, and a plan that's already booked. You are that force now. Because you've remembered, your calendar is more than a tool. It is the altar of your alignment. It is the mirror of your mission. It is the map of your meaning. And now, you live by it with such clarity, such consistency, such conviction, that when someone asks what defines their character, all they'll have to do is look at your calendar, and the answer will be clear. Because you didn't just talk about purpose. You scheduled it. You protected it. You became it. And now, you don't just manage time. You master yourself. That is character. That is power. That is legacy. What you do today echoes forever. Let that sentence sink in, not just into your mind, but deep into your bones. Because it's not some poetic phrase designed to inspire you for a few fleeting moments. It is the law of life, the law of results, the law that separates the fulfilled from the forgotten. If you were to take everything you've ever wanted, every dream, every desire, every whispered ambition, you were too scared to say out loud and ask, what determines whether or not I get to hold this in my hands? The answer is your daily agenda. Not the grand goals you scribbled in a notebook. Not the vision board above your desk. Not the hope or the prayer or the mood you're in. Your agenda. The quiet, unsexy, invisible rhythm of what you choose to do when no one is watching. That sacred structure of how you spend your time, it doesn't just reflect who you are. It shapes who you become. And there is no escaping this truth. What you do daily, you become permanently. Your agenda is not just a schedule. It is a script, a blueprint, a prophecy. If you want to know where your life is heading, don't look at your dreams. Look at your calendar. Because here's the truth they don't teach you in school. Success doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things every single day. And failure doesn't come from doing nothing. It comes from doing almost everything except what matters. So let's cut the noise and strip it to the bone. Your destiny is not some distant date circled on a calendar. It is here. It is now. It is every minute you let slip into mindless consumption. Every hour lost to distraction. Every day spent being busy instead of building. Your destiny is a mirror, and your agenda is the hand that shapes its reflection. You don't need more time. You need more clarity. You don't need motivation. You need alignment. You don't need permission. You need priorities. Because your mind, if left unchecked, will betray you. It will convince you to scroll when you should be studying. It will beg for comfort when you should be chasing growth. It will feed you 1,000 small justifications for why tomorrow is better. But understand this, your mind is not your master. It is your servant. And if you don't program it with intention, it will default to distraction. That's why your daily agenda isn't just a habit, it's a declaration. A stand you take against chaos. A refusal to be another wandering soul waiting for life to happen. It's the discipline to decide that you will happen to life. And what does that agenda look like? It starts in the silence before the world wakes. It begins in those first fragile moments of the morning, when your will is strongest and your mind is clearest. That's when warriors are made. Not when the sun is high and the noise is loud, but in the early hours, where the weak are still sleeping and the future is still soft. What you do in the morning is a message to the universe. This is who I am becoming. So wake with intention. Don't check your phone, check your purpose. Don't scroll center. Don't react, create. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. It comes from structure. From putting on the armor of a well-planned day and stepping into the battlefield of life ready to dominate, not drift. Write it down. Review it. Live it. Your agenda should not be a suggestion. It should be a command. Ruthless in what it allows. Relentless in what it prioritizes. Because time is not just ticking. It's a blade. Every second that passes is slicing through what could have been. If you don't own the day will own you. And here's a truth few are willing to face. Most people are not lazy. They are just unaligned. They're chasing 10 different dreams with 100 different distractions, wondering why they feel exhausted but go nowhere, like a man trying to sail in every direction at once. But you, if you dare to align your daily agenda with your deepest mission, you become unstoppable. Because now every step you take is not just motion, it's momentum. Every action you take is not just a task, it's transformation. This is where belief begins. In the consistency of your action, in the pattern of your discipline. You don't believe in yourself just because someone tells you you're great. You believe in yourself when you've watched yourself follow through. When you say, I will do this. And then you do it again and again and again. That's how confidence is built. Not in grand achievements, but in the quiet conviction that you are the kind of person who shows up for your goals, for your health, for your craft, for your legacy. Don't wait to feel ready. Readiness is a myth. Action is what creates readiness. Discipline is what builds certainty. You want to feel motivated? Stop watching motivational videos and start living a motivational life. One filled with early mornings, deep focus, hard decisions, and daily wins. You want to build an extraordinary life? Don't start with goals. Start with systems. Start with the structure that holds your days in place when motivation fades. Build a life where excellence is your default, not your exception. But let me be clear. This is not about productivity for the sake of hustle. This is not about filling every second of your day with busyness. No, it's about mastering your time so you can be free. Free to create, free to grow, free to rest without guilt. Free to live your vision, not someone else's. Because when your agenda reflects your highest values, your life becomes aligned. And an aligned life is a powerful life, a magnetic life, a life that moves people and mountains alike. But that requires vigilance. Your agenda is a garden. If you do not tend it, weeds will grow. Weeds of distraction, weeds of obligation, weeds of guilt and comparison and noise. Protect your garden. Guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. Say no more often. Cut ruthlessly. Eliminate the unnecessary. Every yes to distraction is a no to destiny. Every compromise chips away at the masterpiece you're building. Be brutal with your time, because the world is not. You were not born to manage chaos. You were born to create order. Not order that suffocates, but order that liberates. That gives your creativity direction, your energy a target, your days a fire that forges greatness. And when you begin to live this way intentionally, fiercely, faithfully, everything begins to change. Not overnight, not with fireworks, but slowly, quietly, powerfully. Because your daily agenda predicts your destiny. And once that agenda becomes sacred, so does your future. The world will try to seduce you with the urgent, the loud, the endless buzz of things that look important but mean nothing. Notifications that scream for your attention. Obligations that whisper, just this once. And before you know it, you are busy, but not becoming. You are moving, but not mastering. You are exhausted, and yet empty. That's the trap. The daily erosion of your essence. by 1,000 meaningless tasks. And the only antidote is sacred structure. Sacred not because it's rigid, not because it's perfect, but because it is intentional, because it reflects a choice, a decision to stop drifting and start designing. And that design begins with the most sacred space of all, your mornings. What does your morning say about your mission? Do you rise like someone chasing destiny, or do you stumble into the day like someone escaping themselves? The difference between average and elite is not talent. It's not even luck. It's what they do before 9 a.m. The elite win the day before the world even wakes, not because it's easy, but because it's required. Because they understand, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And those systems begin with the decision to take yourself seriously, to stop negotiating with your excuses, to stop letting the moods of the moment sabotage the vision of your life. You see, the life you want is already built, already real. It exists in the dimension of decisions. And every disciplined decision you make, every moment you choose, structure over chaos, purpose over pleasure, clarity over comfort pulls that life from the abstract into the concrete. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become who you really are beneath the noise. And the path to that person is paved with action, not thought, not theory, not potential. Action. Let the world debate. Let them argue about the best method, the perfect tool, the ideal strategy. While they talk, you move. While they wait, you work. While they hesitate, you execute. Because it is not the best plan that wins, it's the one that's implemented with obsession. Understand this. There is a rhythm to success. And once you lock into it, everything changes. You begin to feel it in your bones. That you are no longer reacting to life, but directing it. That you are not a passenger in your story, but the architect. And your agenda is your blueprint. Every hour accounted for. Every block of time assigned to something that feeds your fire. Whether it's learning, building, creating, reflecting it, all compounds. Every small act of alignment becomes a brick in the empire you're constructing. And here's where the magic begins. When you do this long enough, it no longer takes effort. It becomes identity. You no longer need to force focus. You are focused. You no longer wrestle with discipline. You are disciplined. It's not something you do. It's who you are. But that identity is not given. It is earned. And the currency is consistency. So let me ask you a hard question. What is your agenda saying about you? What does it say about what you truly value? What does it reveal about who you are becoming? If someone looked at your last 7 days, not your words, not your intentions, but your actions, would they see a leader, a creator, a visionary? Or would they see someone lost in the fog of indecision and distraction? This is not about shame. This is about awakening. Because once you see it, you can change it. Once you realize that your schedule is not just time, it is identity, you take back control. This is where power lives, not in the extremes, but in the daily, the repeatable, the predictable. Power is not found in chaos. It is found in the consistent alignment of thought, word, and deed. So organize your life like someone with a mission. Move like someone who knows. Their future is too big for small habits. Speak like someone who understands the weight of their words. And structure your day like someone who refuses to waste another moment on mediocrity. There are 2 types of pain in life. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One weighs ounces, the other tons. Choose wisely. Because success is not a finish line, it is a lifestyle. And that lifestyle is born in the furnace of your daily routine. Not when things are easy, but especially when they are hard. When you wake up tired, when the world pulls at you, when motivation fades and no one is cheering. That's the moment where greatness is forged. Not in the light, but in the shadows. Not in applause, but in silence. Not in comfort, but in commitment. And you don't need a perfect day to do this. You just need a pattern, a standard, a system that says, this is who I am, this is how I move, this is the mission I serve. Because a scattered agenda creates a scattered identity, but a structured day creates a solid self. And once that self is solidence, you know who you are, and how you move and nothing can stop you. Not rejection, not failure, not criticism, because your foundation is deeper than their opinion. Your system is stronger than their doubt. You become inevitable, not because you're special, but because you've made success your rhythm, because you've built your days on purpose, with purpose, and now your calendar becomes your covenant, a sacred promise to yourself that mediocrity will not be your story. So wake up, lock in, build your day like it builds your life, because it does. The storm will come. Distractions will rise like waves, crashing against the shores of your focus. Unexpected demands will knock at your door, urgent and uninvited. Life will test you not once, but constantly. And when it does, only one thing will keep you standing: the integrity of your daily agenda. Not your passion. That fades. Not your inspiration. That drifts. Not your mood. That lies. It is your structure, your system, your devotion to doing what needs to be done, no matter how you feel. That will hold the line when the chaos comes. That is where real strength lives, not in your intensity, but in your consistency. And understand this: most people don't fail because they aim too high. They fail because they aim too rarely. They set big goals and visit them once a year. But those who rise to the top, they review their mission daily. They build their life around reminders, around structure, around repetition. Because repetition is the language of mastery. They don't treat their dream like a hobby, they treat it like a duty. And so must you. Every morning, recommit, not with emotion, but with execution. Recommit in how you eat, how you move, how you think, how you speak, how you act. Let your day be a sermon of your standards. Because what you repeat becomes who you are, and what you tolerate becomes your truth. If you tolerate disorder, don't be surprised when your life feels chaotic. If you tolerate laziness, don't be shocked when results don't show up. If you tolerate distraction, don't complain when your vision grows dim. You teach the world how to treat you by how you treat your time. If your calendar is cluttered, if your days are reactive, if your routines are accidental, your results will be too. So build your day like a craftsman, not a consumer. Create blocks of time that are protected, not polluted. Build sacred space for focus, for reflection, for creation, for growth. Don't fill your day, forge it. And let me remind you of something sacred. It's not just about what you're doing. It's about who you're becoming while doing it. Because every task, no matter how small, carries with it the power to train your character. When you follow through on the workout you didn't want to do, you train discipline. When you start writing, even though you're uninspired, you train courage. When you stick to your budget when it would feel good to splurge, you train wisdom. When you say no to the noise and yes to your plan, you train identity. And all of this happens in the mundane, in the repetition, in the silence. You won't always feel the change day to day, but give it a season and your entire life transforms. It's like planting a seed. You water, you nurture, you wait. And for a while it looks like nothing is happening, but beneath the surface roots are growing, a foundation is forming. And one day it breaks through, not by magic, but by compounding. Your daily agenda is that soil, and what you plant in it you will one day harvest. So choose wisely. Do not plant weeds and expect flowers. Do not scatter your time and expect results. Choose habits that echo with purpose. Choose actions that align with your vision. Choose days that speak your destiny into existence. You want a rich life? Make rich days. Days rich with intention, rich with progress, rich with presence. Because no one arrives at greatness by accident. They arrive by design. By deliberate days stacked one on top of another until excellence becomes inevitable. And yes, it will be hard. It will be inconvenient. It will require sacrifice. But what's the alternative? Regret? Mediocrity? A life spent wondering what could have been if you just got serious? No. Not you. Not now. You are here because something in you knows there's more. Knows that your potential is not some abstract concept. a fire waiting to be fueled. And the fuel is simple. Do the work daily, unapologetically, without permission, without perfect conditions. Because waiting for the perfect moment is the fastest way to watch your life pass you by. The only perfect moment is the one you claim, the one you shape with your decisions, the one you own by what you do right now. So ask yourself, if I live this day on repeat, what kind of life would it produce? If that question rattles you good, it means you're waking up. It means the illusion is breaking. It means you're ready to shift from wishing to working, from dreaming to designing, from hoping to executing. The bridge between where you are and where you want to be is not talent. It's not luck. It's not even opportunity. It's consistency. Brick by brick, task by task, day by day. Build the bridge. And don't just build it with speed. Build it with soul, with presence, with excellence. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. And every action you take is casting a vote for the person you want to become. So, cast wisely, vote daily, show up like your future depends on it, because it does. Your legacy is not written in grand gestures. It is etched in ordinary days, lived with extraordinary purpose. This is the truth few accept. Your agenda is your autobiography. It's the story your future will read, the story your results will reflect, the story your character will become. So write that story with fire, with focus, with the kind of resolve that bends reality. Let every hour scream, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, this is what I will become. And when you live like that, when your agenda becomes a masterpiece of purpose, then yes, your destiny becomes unstoppable. There comes a point when the world stops believing in promises and starts watching patterns. The people around you, the forces above you, the dreams within you, they are not responding to your words. They are responding to your rhythm, your consistency, your unwavering, undeniable, unstoppable pattern. You want to be respected? Build a pattern. You want to be trusted? Build a pattern. You want to be legendary? Build a pattern. Not of perfection, but of presence, of resilience, of rising again and again and again until life bends to the will of your schedule, until results no longer surprise you, they simply reflect you. Because what the world calls magic, the disciplined call routine. What they call breakthrough, the focused call Tuesday. And what they call success, the committed call inevitable. Let that word settle. Inevitable. Not lucky, not sudden, not dramatic, but earned, constructed, engineered by hundreds, thousands of days done right. Days that most people would have wasted. Days that looked boring on the outside, but burned with intention on the inside. Because that's where greatness hides in repetition. In the silent, sweaty hours when you choose growth over gossip, vision over vices, clarity over comfort. Every minute has a consequence. Every day is a vote. And the universe is always listening not to your declarations, but to your discipline. And here's the brutal truth. You cannot escape your own habits. You will never outdream a broken system. You will never outrun a lazy morning. You will never outtalk a day that you let run you. So stop negotiating with the day. Conquer it. When you wake up, don't ask what the day has in store for you. Tell it what you have in store for it. You are not the victim of time, you are the commander of it. This is not arrogance. This is authority. You were given 24 hours just like the giants before you. Einstein had 24. Da Vinci had 24. Jim Rohn had 24. What made the difference wasn't more time, it was more intention. So build a daily code, a standard that becomes untouchable, a way of life that no distraction, no failure, no mood can take from you. And guard it like your soul depends on it, because in a way it does. And when it gets hard, and it will remember, resistance is the price of transformation. The more aligned your day becomes with your purpose, the more resistance you will feel. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're finally doing something right. Growth is not smooth. It is jagged. It is painful. It is sacred. Your mind will protest. Your body will beg. Your environment will push back. But you must hold the line. You must hold the schedule. You must hold the standard. And then like dawn breaking through the night, it changes. You start becoming unrecognizable to your past, to your doubters, even to yourself. Because now you don't just talk different, you walk different. You think with clarity. You move with force. You rest with peace. Your life becomes ordered, not out of control. Designed, not chaotic. Powerful, not passive. And people will ask you how. They'll say you're lucky. They'll say you're gifted. They'll say, it just happened for you. But you'll know. It was the daily grind. It was the small, silent, uncelebrated wins. It was the refusal to waste one more hour in mediocrity. It was the decision to own your agenda before the world could write it for you. And when you look back years from now at the life you built, the impact you made, the legacy you leave, you will not thank the easy days. You will thank the structured ones, the hard ones, the lonely ones, the ones where no one was watching but you showed up anyway. That's when it counted. That's when the seeds of destiny were planted. In the calendar you once ignored, in the minutes you used to waste, in the silence you finally respected. So rise. Structure your day like it matters, because it does. Move through your hours like they are gold, because they are. And never again let another sunset catch you wandering. Wanderers don't leave legacies. Architects do. This is your blueprint, your map, your schedule. This is not a planner. This is prophecy. Your agenda predicts your destiny, so write wisely, live fiercely, and guard your time like your life depends on it. Because it absolutely does. And when the dust settles, when all the noise fades, you'll realize something profound. Something that changes how you walk through every doorway, how you sit with yourself in the quiet, how you lead, how you love, how you live. That freedom, real, lasting, soul-deep freedom, does not come from chaos. It comes from order. The kind of order you design, not the one imposed on you. The kind of structure you choose, not the one forced upon you by panic and deadlines and emergencies. Because let's be honest, if you don't plan your life, someone else will. The world is full of people who would love to hijack your time. Full of agendas waiting for an open calendar. Full of companies, apps, ads, and even well-meaning friends ready to insert themselves into your space if you leave the door open. But when you step into life with a locked-in, purpose-driven agenda, you send a message to the universe. This time is taken by vision, taken by discipline, taken by purpose. And suddenly, the distractions shrink, the temptations fade, the fog begins to lift. Not because life got easier, but because you got aligned. Alignment is power. Alignment is peace. Alignment is clarity. When your daily actions mirror your highest values, you no longer need motivation. Your life becomes a reflection of your truth, and truth does not need hype. It only needs honor. So start honoring your time like it's sacred. Start treating your goals like they deserve to live. Stop scheduling yourself around obligation and start structuring around becoming. You are not just trying to stay afloat, you are building a vessel. One that will carry you through every storm, every failure, every drought. And that vessel is not built in a single moment of motivation. It's built in the rhythm of responsibility. Brick by brick, block by block, hour by sacred hour. So ask yourself, again, is your daily agenda strong enough to carry the weight of your destiny? If not, rebuild it. Don't adjust your dreams, adjust your days. Don't lower the berets your routine. Because if your agenda doesn't respect your future, it will rob it. It will steal it in the small moments, in the just 5 minutes, in the I'll start tomorrow. Let today be the day you burn the bridge to someday. Let today be the day you stop treating your dream like it's optional. Let today be the day you stop asking for signs and start becoming one. The sign of commitment, the sign of consistency, The sign of someone who chose to master time before time mastered them. And when people look at your life and ask, how did you do it? You'll smile not because it was easy, but because it was earned. Earned in the quiet mornings. Earned in the repeated disciplines. Earned in the moments you stuck to your structure, even when your feelings screamed for comfort. That's when you'll know. Success is not a finish line. It's a rhythm, a pulse, a pattern of power repeated daily until your identity becomes undeniable. Not a wish, not a fluke, not a hope, but a reality you designed with the hands of discipline. And when you look at the empire you've built, when you see the respect, the freedom, the wealth, the impact, you'll know it all started with one ordinary day, one deliberate morning, one sacred agenda. That's the power of now. That's the miracle of repetition. That's the destiny written not in stars, but in schedules. So write it, live it, protect it. Because in the end, it's not your dreams that define your future. It's what you do between 6 a.m. and midnight. And when your daily agenda becomes non-negotiable, your destiny becomes inevitable. And when it all comes together, when the structure aligns with your soul, when your hours reflect your hunger, when your actions mirror your ambition, then time bends to your will. You move differently. You speak with conviction. You walk into rooms with presence. You no longer chase opportunities, they find you. Because power gravitates toward clarity. And clarity is forged in structure. There is no mystery to mastery. It is mundane. It is monotonous. It is magnificently boring. But boring builds empires. Think about it. The athlete who dominates the world isn't doing 1,000 different workouts. They're doing the same reps with obsession. The writer whose words pierce the soul isn't chasing inspiration. They're showing up to the blank page every single morning without fail. The entrepreneur who builds generational wealth isn't gambling on moments. They're managing minutes. You want to win in life? Fall in love with the rhythm. Fall in love with the ordinary until it becomes extraordinary. Let your habits hum with harmony until your life becomes a song of purpose. Because real power is quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't post. It doesn't beg for attention. It wakes up, does the work, and builds a life so rich, so deep, so unshakable that it speaks for itself. And yes, it will be lonely at times. Because few are willing to walk this road. They want the rewards, but not the requirements. They want the praise, but not the process. They want the feeling, but not the formula. But you are not like them. You have decided. You have declared. You have drawn the line. And from this moment forward, your days will not be wasted. They will be woven like a craftsman at the loom, each thread laid with care, each choice building a pattern, each block of time building a legacy. Because one day, yes, one day someone will look at your life and say, they were born for this. But you'll know the truth. You weren't born for this. You built this, one decision at a time, one disciplined day at a time, one iron-willed morning after another. That is the difference between dreams and destiny. Not what you wish would happen, but what you make happen. So take back your time, design your days, and let your calendar become a mirror of your mission. You don't need more hours. You need more intention. You don't need more motivation. You need more momentum. You don't need more inspiration. You need more implementation. Because the world doesn't reward potential. It rewards proof. And proof lives in your patterns. So write your legacy in the language of discipline. Etch your greatness into your agenda. And let every hour declare the truth. That this life is yours. That this mission is non-negotiable. And that your destiny is not a dream waiting to be wished for. It is a fire waiting to be lived. Because here's what most never understand. Your destiny isn't some finish line you stumble upon in a flash of brilliance. It's something you construct brick by brick, decision by decision, hour by hour. And if you look closely, the ones who win in life, the ones who make it look effortless, they're not frantic. They're not flailing. They're fluent in their own rhythm. They wake up with fire, not because they're always motivated, but because their structure demands it. They create even when it's hard, not because it's always fun, but because their schedule commands it. They execute even when it's boring, not because they're special, but because they refuse to negotiate with average. And that's what this is about. Refusing to negotiate. Refusing to let temporary emotions rewrite your eternal mission. Refusing to let the small you hijack the future you. Because the truth is this: every time you skip the hard thing, you strengthen the weak voice. Every time you delay what matters, you drift further from who you're meant to be. Every time you say, just this once, your standard slips. And soon the exception becomes your identity. But when your agenda becomes sacred, when your calendar becomes a canvas painted with purpose, when your hours bow to your highest self, then you don't just manage time. You master it. You become dangerous to mediocrity, to doubt, to the version of you that almost made it. Because suddenly, the question is no longer, what do I feel like doing today? The question becomes, what would the future me do in this exact moment? Would they sleep in? Would they skip the reps? Would they scroll or study? Would they complain or create? Would they react or rise? When your days are directed by your future self, your present self stops getting in the way. And that's when everything changes. You start speaking differently. You start moving with certainty. You start executing like someone who already knows the outcome because they've written it in sweat, in silence, in schedule. And while the world keeps asking for hacks, you've built a habit. While others search for shortcuts, you've found the straightest path, consistency. And while they're still trying to get focused, you've become focus. That's what this is. Not a tactic, not a tip, not a temporary fix. This is an identity shift from reactive to proactive, from scattered to structured, from uncertain to unstoppable. You no longer let the day decide who you are. You decide the day before it begins, before the chaos, before the excuses show up to negotiate, because you're not building a life you tolerate. You're building a life that demands respect. And the foundation of that life is your daily rhythm. So protect it. Guard it like royalty guards the crown. Feed it like a flame that will die without fuel, because your energy follows your structure. Your confidence follows your routine. Your wealth, your health, your peace, your legacy, they all bow to your agenda. And every moment that you treat that agenda with honor, you earn a piece of the life you once thought was impossible. But make no mistake, this is not about control. This is about freedom. Freedom to create without distraction. Freedom to rest without guilt. Freedom to live in such alignment that even your stillness has power. That kind of freedom, it is bought with discipline, with saying no when it's uncomfortable, with doing what matters when no one is watching, with living like your legacy depends on it, because it does. So from this moment on, let your life be a reflection of a new law, that your calendar is your compass, that your hours are your home, that your habits are holy, and that every day you show up, every task you complete, every priority you honor. You are not just checking off a list. You are building a future that cannot be denied. You are not chasing success. You are becoming it. And as you keep showing up day after day, task after task, something remarkable happens. The world begins to shift around you. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach start gravitating toward your orbit. Not because you begged for them, not because you posted about how hard you're grinding, but because your energy has changed. Your standard has changed. Your aura has changed. People feel it even if they can't explain it. They see it in your eyes. They hear it in your voice. They sense the power of someone who knows exactly what they're doing here. You are no longer moving through life hoping to find purpose. You bring purpose into every room. You don't look for permission. You carry authority because your discipline speaks louder than any introduction ever could. And let's be clear, this isn't about being busy. Busy is a lie. The unfocused tell themselves to feel important. This is about being intentional, about doing less, but doing it with absolute domination, about identifying the vital few and eliminating the trivial many. Because success isn't built on volume, it's built on precision. Every day you ask, what moves the needle? What makes me sharper? What compounds over time? And then you do that ruthlessly, relentlessly, repeatedly. Because results are not born in intensity, they're born in iteration. Not in doing everything once, but in doing the essential things forever. This is how legacies are built. Not in spurts of inspiration, but in systems of execution. Systems that run even when you're tired, even when you're doubting, even when everything feels heavy. You fall back not on motivation, but on mastery. The structure catches you. The rhythm rescues you. The agenda carries you. And now, you're no longer building from scratch each day. You're building on top of momentum. You're stacking wins. You're compounding power. And soon, you've become someone they said was lucky. Someone they claim had the right timing. Someone they always knew would make it. But they didn't see the days you kept your structure when chaos was easier. They didn't see the nights you stuck to the plan when comfort was calling. They didn't see the mornings you rose when everyone else rolled over. You saw that. You lived that. And you earned this. Because destiny doesn't arrive in a flash. It grows in the shadows, in the repetition, in the rituals. So if you want to change your future, don't change your life. Change your day. Write it with the precision of a warrior. Execute it with the heart of a lion. Protect it with the discipline of a king. And you will rise. You will rise not as someone who got lucky, but as someone who became inevitable. Because your daily agenda didn't just predict your destiny. It created it. And now, the question is no longer if you will succeed. The question is how far you are willing to go. How long you are willing to hold the line. How deeply you are willing to stay rooted when the winds of life try to bend you. Because make no mistake, they will come. Distractions will disguise themselves as opportunities. Comfort will whisper in moments of fatigue. Doubt will masquerade as logic. But you won't flinch because your life is no longer run by emotion. It's run by design. You've built too much. You've sacrificed too much. You've come too far to throw it away for temporary satisfaction. Because the old version of you, the one that made excuses, that broke promises, that sabotaged progress when it got uncomfortable, is gone. Buried in the graveyard of yesterday's patterns. What walks through your days now is a force. Focused, fierce, final. You've reached the point where structure is no longer a burden. It's your freedom. Where discipline is no longer punishment, it's your power. You no longer need the external to push you. The fire burns within. And that fire is fed by something bigger than goals, bigger than checklists, bigger than applause. It's fed by legacy. The kind of legacy that doesn't fade when the money's spent. The kind of legacy that lives in how you made people feel, in how you move through life with courage, in the example you set, in the standard you walked in every single day. Because what if you're not just building success for yourself? What if your discipline becomes the inheritance for generations who will never meet you, but will be influenced by the life you built? What if your children grow up thinking excellence is normal because you made it so? What if your habits outlive you? What if your schedule becomes scripture for someone else's breakthrough? This is what you're fighting for. Not just results, but ripple. You don't just rise for yourself. You rise for everyone who will one day be changed because you refuse to be average, because you refused to surrender your days to noise, because you refuse to let another hour pass without purpose, And when the world tries to sell chaos as cool, when they glorify hustle without healing, distraction without direction, motion without meaning, you will walk the other way with poise, with calm, with precision, because you're not just building a business. You're not just chasing success. You're not just reaching goals. You are sculpting a soul. You are designing a destiny. You are moving through time as a living declaration. I was here. I mattered. And I built this. Every hour, a signature. Every day, a declaration. Every week, a wall in the fortress of your becoming. You've chosen the rare road, the road of integrity, the road of sovereignty, the road of those who don't just dream, they deliver. And as you keep walking, with that agenda in hand, with that rhythm in your bones, with that purpose stamped on every single second, you will feel it. That sense of internal peace, not because everything is easy, but because you are in alignment. That's what structure gives you. Not just results, but revelation. Not just income, but inner power. Not just wins, but a warrior's peace. So rise again tomorrow. Review your plan. Refine your focus. Recommit to the rhythm, because the path is clear. The system is sound. The vision is alive. And now, so are you. A roar from the depths of your soul. A roar that says, I am no longer a servant to time. I am a sculptor of destiny. This is your life. Right here. Right now. No more waiting. No more wondering. No more wavering. You have everything you need. Not someday. Not when it's easier. Not when you feel ready. Now, the discipline is inside you. The clarity is inside you. The power to rise and reorder the chaos of life with calm command. It's not out there. It's in your hands. And it always has been. It just needed a plan. It needed a rhythm. It needed an agenda that treated your time like gold, because it is. And when you begin to guard your time, when you begin to cut the unnecessary, when you begin to move through the day like your future depends on it, because it does, you transcend. You transcend distraction. You transcend laziness. You transcend who you were last year, last month, yesterday. You become new, and not by accident, but by design. People will feel it when you walk in. That fire, that focus, that stillness that comes not from arrogance, but alignment. That gravity that comes from knowing who you are, why you're here, and what you do with your time. You don't need to yell. You don't need to flex. Your presence becomes your proof, because your life no longer speaks the language of maybe. It speaks the language of certainty. And where does it begin? Not with some grand event, not with a life-altering moment, not with applause or approval. It begins with your next hour, your next action, your next morning, because how you live your days becomes how you live your life. And when your agenda becomes aligned with your ambition, when your routine matches your reasons, when your habits carry the weight of your hopes, you become a force the world cannot ignore. And that force is not random. It's not mystical. It's measurable. It's methodical. It's right there on your calendar. So don't just write plans, live them. Don't just dream of transformation, schedule it. Don't just hope you'll change design the days that demand it. Because at the end of your life, when the story is told, when your time is up, when the pages are closed and the lights go out, it won't be the dreams you dreamed that will echo into eternity. It'll be the days you lived with intention, the moments you showed up when it was hard, the hours you owned when it was easier to hide. That's the real legacy. Not the highlight reel, but the daily rhythm that no one saw, but built everything. So go, rise, plan with purpose, live with discipline, move with vision, and build a daily life so potent, so present, so powerfully aligned that destiny has no choice but to bow to your command. Because now you know your daily agenda is not just a schedule. It is your prophecy. And what you do with it creates everything. This is the truth. This is the law. This is the code of the uncommon. Your time is sacred. Your life is a masterpiece. And you are the artist. Now pick up the brush and paint a future no one can erase. Let the world watch in awe. You will never rise above the level of your environment for long. You can have the vision, you can have the hunger. You can carry the dream inside your chest like a fire that won't go out. But if the soil you're planted in is poisoned, your potential will rot from the inside out. Your environment is not neutral. It is never passive. It is a force. It is either sharpening your edge or dulling your blade. It is either feeding your discipline or justifying your distraction. It is either confirming your greatness or constantly questioning your worth. And if you don't choose your environment with intention, you will be chosen by it, shaped by it, defined by it, imprisoned by it. Your environment is not just the place you live, it's the energy you allow, the conversations you engage in, the voices you let echo in your mind, the standards you tolerate around you. The moment you begin to elevate, your environment becomes either your launch pad or your anchor. Look around. Are you being fueled or are you being drained? Every person in your circle is either a mirror or a mold. They reflect what you are or they pressure you to become what they are. Energy is contagious. And if you're constantly around people who shrink, you'll eventually forget you were born to expand. You cannot become unstoppable in a culture of complacency. You cannot become disciplined in a room where excuses are currency. You cannot become focused when your surroundings celebrate distraction. Environment is power. That's why lions raised among sheep forget they are lions. That's why eagles stuck in cages begin to envy chickens. And that's why gifted, hungry, brilliant people stay stuck because the air around them is too heavy to breathe. And so they suffocate quietly without even knowing why. Not because they lacked motivation, but because their environment didn't support their mission. It's not about arrogance. It's about atmosphere. It's about alignment. If your goals require fire, stop standing in the rain. If your soul demands growth, stop surrounding it with decay. If your future calls for war, stop hanging around people who only know peace. Because here's the truth. You don't need everyone to support you. You don't need a crowd. You don't need a cheer squad. But you do need a space that doesn't drain you. You need silence that helps you hear your own voice. You need people who don't let you off the hook. You need friction that refines you, not friction that distracts you. Growth begins the moment you stop asking, who's with me? And start asking, what's around me? Audit the noise. Filter the input. Elevate the space. And if you must walk alone, because walking alone with clarity is better than standing still with a crowd. Mindset is not just built inside, it's shaped by what surrounds you. What you hear becomes what you think. What you think becomes what you believe. What you believe becomes what you do. And what you do becomes who you are. So what are you hearing daily? What are you absorbing unconsciously? What is the texture of your environment? Is it soft and safe, or is it sharp and sculpting? If your environment does not challenge you, it will cradle you. And cradle dreams never walk. They never fight. They never break through. They die comfortable. They die slowly. They die calling your name as you walk away from yourself. Do not let that be your story. Create an environment that demands your greatness. That stretches you. That calls you out. That pulls you up. That refuses to let you settle. And if you can't find it, be it. Be the spark. Be the standard. Be the atmosphere changer. Because sometimes the most powerful environment is not a place. It's a decision. It's a room you build in your mind. A fortress of focus. A cathedral of discipline. A battlefield of intention. Your habits are planted in the garden of your environment. And if the soil is toxic, your discipline won't last. Don't just change your life. Change the setting. Change the inputs. Change the conversations. Change the energy. Because your environment is the stage and your future is the performance. You can't perform a masterpiece in a space built for mediocrity. So raise the room. Raise the frequency. Raise the expectation. And watch who stays. Watch who runs. Watch what grows. Watch what dies. It's not personal. It's alignment. You are not obligated to remain in spaces that choke your evolution. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to become. And becoming requires space. Becoming requires silence. Becoming requires standards. High ones. Non-negotiable ones. Ones that scare small minds and call forth giants. Because giants are not born, they are forged. Forged in friction. Forged in fire. Forged in rooms that demand more, not less. More focus. More courage. More responsibility. And that's the tragedy of staying in environments that drain you. They don't just cost you time. They cost you identity. They convince you that your ceiling is permanent, that your limits are real, that your ambition is too much. And slowly, subtly, silently, you start to shrink. You laugh less. You move slower. You question yourself more. Until one day you forget what it ever felt like to be powerful. But let me remind you, you are powerful. Not by accident, not by luck, but by design. You were built to expand, built to stretch, built to lead. But you can't lead in an environment where people fear the sound of truth. You can't fly in a cage made of comfort. You need pressure, but not poison. You need standards, but not sabotage. You need friction that refines not, friction that fractures. And sometimes the most courageous thing you'll ever do is leave the room. The one that praises your old self but resists your new self. The one that applauds your stagnation but mocks your transformation. You are not meant to stay small, just so others feel big. You are not meant to hide your vision just so someone else can sleep at night. There comes a time where you must rise alone, if necessary, because the cost of staying is always greater than the fear of leaving. And when you leave, something happens. The air gets clearer. The voice inside grows louder. Your focus sharpens. Your steps quicken. Because finally, you are aligned. Not just with your goals, but with your greatness. And now the work begins. You start curating everything. Your space, your sounds, your schedule, your inputs. No more passive consumption. No more ambient noise. Everything around you becomes intentional. Your phone is not just a tool, it's a portal. Your desk is not just furniture, it's an altar. Your playlists are not just music, they are primers for performance. Everything you touch either triggers your power or your procrastination. And you begin to notice what lifts you, what drains you, what sharpens you, what softens you. You begin to protect your energy like it's gold because it is. Because your energy is the gateway to your action. And your action is the proof of your alignment. Look, your environment will either reinforce your standards or erode them. There is no neutral ground. There is no just chill. There is either intention or infection. So ask yourself daily, is this space lifting my vision or lowering my standards? Are these people multiplying my belief or managing my potential? Are my surroundings calling me to lead or lulling me to sleep? And if the answer burns, good. That's the signal. That's the fire. That's the moment you choose yourself. You will not apologize for evolving. You will not shrink for approval. You will not abandon your destiny to keep people comfortable. You will build the space you need to rise, brick by brick, choice by choice, habit by habit. Because you know now, environment isn't something you tolerate. It's something you design. Then let's keep building, because the environment you allow is the foundation you stand on. And if the foundation is cracked, Everything you build will collapse under the weight of your own potential. Design is the new discipline. You must become an architect of atmosphere, where your desk is your war table, your phone, a weapon, not a weakness, your schedule, a shield that protects your time like a fortress, and your circle, a council of warriors who call you forward, never backward. You see, discipline doesn't just live in the mind, it lives in the air around you. That's why some people can walk into a room and feel smaller, because the room wasn't built to hold them. And it's not their fault, it's their responsibility. You do not wait for the right environment. You create it. You strip away what numbs you. You remove what drains you. You silence what distracts you. You elevate what sharpens you. Because the cost of staying in the wrong space is invisible until it becomes unbearable. It shows up in your energy, your sleep, your creativity, your courage. And when your environment is off, everything is off. It's like trying to sprint underwater. You might have the heart, but the weight will win. So lighten the load. Curate every input like your life depends on it, because it does. The books you read, the voices you follow, the spaces you enter, the tone of your home, the focus of your workspace. Every element must either multiply your mission or it has no place near you. You are not harsh for cutting out distraction. You are not cold for cutting off toxicity. You are not heartless for refusing to babysit comfort. You are focused. You are called. You are on a mission. And anything that does not align with that mission is a threat to it. So set the tone, create your rituals, design your silence, make your morning sacred, make your space unshakable. Because once your environment aligns with your identity, you become inevitable. Not because you're better, but because you are undistracted. And in a world drowning in noise, the focused one wins. Every single time. They win not just because they know what to do, but because they know where to do it. They've built a space that fuels execution, not excuses. They've removed friction. They've simplified. They've elevated. They don't rise by chance. They rise by design. And so must you. Because your greatness will not survive a low-frequency environment. It will be starved. It will be smothered. It will be swallowed. So protect it. You protect your mind by protecting your inputs. You protect your momentum by protecting your morning. You protect your future by protecting your space. Your space is your sanctuary. Your space is your strategy. Your space is your signal to self that you are serious. And when you are serious, everything shifts. Because when everything shifts, you shift. You begin to move differently. You walk into your space and it speaks to you, not with noise, but with clarity. It whispers, this is who we are now. This is what we do. And your body responds because you've trained it. Because your space is no longer a cage, it's a command center. Your goals aren't floating anymore. They're rooted in environment. They've got gravity now. They're reinforced by every corner of your life. And that's when your discipline deepens. Not because you're forcing it, because your environment expects it. Let me say this clearly. Environment is the cheat code. You can grind all day. You can hustle till your bones ache. But if your space is not aligned, your willpower will leak. That's why the gym matters. That's why your digital landscape matters. That's why your living room, your calendar, your inbox, your bookmarks, they all matter. Because everything you touch is either a trigger for momentum or a trapdoor to mediocrity. And here's the truth. Willpower fades. Discipline cracks. Motivation disappears. But environment endures. It outlasts your mood. It overrules your excuses. It resets your standard the moment you forget who you are. So, ask yourself, does your environment remind you of your power, or does it constantly reaffirm your limitations? Every cluttered corner is a conversation. Every distraction you haven't deleted is a vote against your future. Every draining relationship is a tax on your greatness. And every courageous decision to clean, to cut, to change is a down payment on your destiny. This is where the shift happens, not in massive leaps, but in micro adjustments. You remove the app, you rearrange your workspace, you shift your morning routine by 10 minutes. You unfollow, unsubscribe, unplug from anything that doesn't feed the fire. And over time, your life transforms. Not because you found more hours, but because you took control of the hour you had. Not because you became more talented, but because you became more intentional. And intention beats intelligence every time. Because the smartest person in the wrong environment will self-destruct. But the most average person in the right environment will ascend. That's the power. That's the truth. That's the principle the greats never violate. They design their environment to demand their best. So design yours ruthlessly, with fire, with focus. Because once your environment is aligned, your excuses lose their oxygen. And when that happens, your execution becomes automatic. Because once execution becomes automatic, elevation becomes inevitable. But here's what the world won't tell you. Even with the perfect environment, you will still face storms, disruption, uncertainty, sudden change that hits like a thunderclap and tests every ounce of who you are. And this is where adaptability becomes your edge. Because the goal isn't to create a perfect environment that never shakes. The goal is to become someone who stays sharp even when it does. A champion doesn't rely on ideal conditions. They create rhythm inside the chaos. They use the storm as sharpening steel. They pivot, adjust, reroute not because they are weak, but because they are committed. Rigid people break. Resilient people bend, breathe, rebuild. And resilience doesn't mean you never fall. It means you get up cleaner, stronger, faster every time you do. But let's be real. It's hard to be resilient in a toxic space. It's hard to adapt when you're surrounded by those who fear change. It's hard to evolve in an environment where growth threatens the room. So again, your environment must support your bounce back. Not mock it, not slow it, not interrupt it. Because when life punches you in the mouth, and it will, you won't rise based on what you planned. You'll rise based on the systems you've built. And your environment is one of those systems. It should echo your standards. Reinforce your boundaries. Reflect your future, not your past. And when everything around you feels like it's on fire, your environment becomes the ground beneath your feet. The space where your habits take over. The atmosphere that says, we don't break, here we build. That's why learning never stops. Because the environment that fuels you today may limit you tomorrow. And if you don't keep learning, if you don't stay teachable, you'll outgrow the room and not even know it. Learning is not about collecting quotes. It's about collecting corrections. It's about studying your patterns, your energy, your space, and asking, where am I leaking power? What part of my environment is outdated? What needs to be upgraded so I can handle more? Because that's what growth does. It doesn't just demand more from you. It demands more around you. You can't hold a level 10 vision in a level 2 environment. You can't keep thinking like a seed when you've already started sprouting. And sometimes the boldest move isn't learning more, it's unlearning what no longer serves you. It's stepping back and saying, this space I once loved now, it's too small. This mindset I once needed now, it's outdated. This circle I once fit in now, it's a cage. Learning is the fuel that keeps your environment alive, fresh, and aligned. And you must never stop feeding it. Study energy. Study systems. Study excellence. Study those who've mastered their space, who walk into rooms and own them not with noise, but with presence. Because they've designed environments where clarity is king, where purpose is loud, where distractions starve and discipline feasts. And they live differently because of it. So must you. Because your environment is not a backdrop. It is the silent architect of your next breakthrough. Then stand with me, know in spirit, in soul, in fire, because we are stepping into the final stretch. Not with a whisper, but with a war cry. This is the moment you stop entertaining the lie that your surroundings don't matter. This is the moment you stop pretending that you can keep greatness alive while living in a room built for average. This is the moment you burn the old blueprint and draft a new standard. Your environment is not just something you manage, it is something you command. With authority, with clarity, with fire. Because from this day forward, every room you walk into should rise to meet you. And if it doesn't, then you either elevate the room or exit it. You do not dim your light to preserve comfort. You do not dilute your focus to appease the distracted. You do not lower your standards to protect someone else's ego. You rise. And if your environment cannot handle that, it was never your home, it was your holding cell. But no more. You are no longer available for energy that exhausts you. You are no longer accessible to environments that confuse motion with progress. You are no longer interested in playing small so others can breathe easy in the presence of your potential. Because now you know. You know that your space is your sanctuary. Your environment is your amplifier. Your surroundings are either fueling your fire or smothering your spark. And you've made your decision. You will not tolerate what drains you. You will only welcome what elevates you. And in doing so, you become something rare. You become untouchable, no, because life is easy, but because you've aligned everything around you to serve what matters most. Your vision, your mission, your rhythm, your becoming. And when everything around you is aligned, your decisions get faster. Your energy gets cleaner. Your habits lock in. Your progress accelerates. And the world feels you. Not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. Not because you're perfect, but because you're anchored. Anchored in intention. Surrounded by strategy. Fueled by focus. Driven by discipline. Held up by an environment that no longer questions your greatness, it demands it. This is your new reality. This is your new normal. This is the standard you defend with your time, your attention, your space, your soul. You think long-term. You act with urgency. You build a world around you that matches the one inside you. And now, you are no longer fighting gravity. You are flying because your environment finally matches your destiny.